Welcome to the Social Podcast, where no discussion or debate is off limits.
Thank you. Have a seat, everybody. Happy Thursday. Glad to have you with us. Listen, we want to begin the show with letting everybody know, like all of you, we have been following the news of the devastating wildfires happening in Manitoba, in Alberta, and Saskatchewan. And we want to let you know our hearts are going out to all of those, the families, everyone having to deal with leaving their homes and facing uncertainty and all the turmoil right now. So please stay safe. We are thinking of all of you. So we wanted to begin there. Absolutely.
Yeah, clap.
Okay, let's begin with our first topic on the show, and it has to do with something that I don't know if you heard about in the news. It's a big deal. Hailey Bieber's $1 billion cosmetics deal. Have you heard about this? Big money. So Hailey announced yesterday that she has sold her wildly successful beauty brand, Rhode, to E.l.f. Cosmetics for a cool $1 billion. This comes after a ton of reports that perhaps her husband, Justin Bieber, may be on the verge of financial collapse after building up a ton of debt from his canceled 2022 tour. So it actually got us thinking about something when it comes to maybe we can all relate to, which is how are relationship dynamics impacted when the breadwinner of the family changes? Sticky. What do you think, Andrea?
It's a good question.
Yeah. Listen, first I just want to say congratulations. Before I give the bad news, let me give the congratulations. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to do these types of deals, to build this type of company, so it's fantastic news. But sadly, my first thought was, ooh, what's the dynamic of that marriage going to be like now? Because I think, of course, I don't know what's going on in their relationship, and I want to be very clear about that. But, you know, if he married her because he felt like I'm comfortable with her because I know I'm up here and she's down here, or vice versa, she married him because she's like, oh, I don't want to be it, I want to marry it. So I like, you know, chasing this guy. He's a superstar. I can be underneath the umbrella of his superstardom. She's gonna wake up this morning and feel maybe a little bit different about it because now she's got all the money in the account. So that's the first thing I thought about. But if he is a secure person, he will congratulate his wife, and this will be a wonderful thing. But because of that tweet that he posted a couple weeks ago,
and
we talked about
it.
He's like, I said she was never going to make. If he continues to make those little shots at her, because that's always a sign that someone's not happy for you. Something great happens for you, and they're like, yeah, but you know what? If that continues to happen in their relationship, we already know what's going to happen because no one can sustain that kind of nonsense. But we'll wait and see because we don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
I can't understand that level of like. I don't know, being angry at a spouse for being the breadwinner.
Supposed to be your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, I don't understand. Maybe because I'm not a man. Because it does.
No.
Sorry for any men in the audience.
No, say it.
But maybe there is a stereotype that it's only the men that get hurt. There's something maybe involved with ego. If their wife or partner were to become the breadwinner. Like I have been the breadwinner for 10 years and I would happily give it over to my partner. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I just think it's a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility. So all the men out there are just like, listen to me.
I think it's changing.
It feels great not to be it.
Right? I think it is changing a little bit. Like I do know a lot of men in my life who are the primary homemakers now, I guess is what you call it, and they quite enjoy it, and they get to look after the kids more often. The thing is that there was there was a study from the University of Chicago that found that in heterosexual marriages, to be clear, when there's a female breadwinner, they are 50% more likely to end in divorce. So already we know the statistics are bad, and then there's an extra 50% on top of that, which does speak to, I don't know if it's...
Is it resentment?
I think it's partially what we talk about on the show a lot is that the work of the home, in some cases, continues to still be the work of the female. So she's making extra money, and she's out there working the job that pays more, and she's still doing the bulk of the homework and not getting any money for that. Therein lies, I think, the rub and what causes the divorces.
And there was actually a big study that was just released about that even though 30 to 40% of households in Canada and America, it is the woman who is the lead breadwinner. I didn't realize it was so high, to be honest. And things are changing. We are getting higher education. We are getting the higher paying jobs. However, if there is a man in the same job, he is making more than us, but in any case. So I do think there is something definitely to that. It's just gender roles die so hard, don't they? They've been ingrained in us from time immemorial. So when all of a sudden, in a very short time, women are outpacing men in many ways, it's a shift psychologically. And there's actually a phenomenon for the idea of a woman marrying up. It's called hypergamy. It's a very well-known
Hypergamy?
Hypergamy.
I like that word.
Hypergamy.
I like the sound of it.
Yes,
Hypergamy.
it's social psychology, very well studied that even if a woman if she makes 10 million, she'll still look for unconsciously or consciously someone who's making 12 million.
Yeah.
There is an idea of a
You know why? Because she doesn't
role.
want to hear about the fact that she makes 10 million.
Right,
Do you think it's that, or do you think it's some
Protection?
deeply ingrained
Like, an
protection,
evolutionary-
which is so
You know
it's
what?
like gone wrong?
I've dated guys that I make more money than or have something more, and it's always a conversation.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are always bringing it up. They're the ones that have the issue. You go to a restaurant, they're the ones that are like, oh, do we have to go here? It's so expensive. Oh, you're always doing something fancy. They're the ones that have the
'Cause
problem
they're feeling
most times.
insecure
They're
about
feeling
it.
insecure because they cannot
Emasculated.
provide. They think that they cannot, because they can't pay for it or they can't afford it, that it's a problem. And it's like, it's not a problem for me.
Right.
It's always a problem for them.
So
Interesting.
going back, let's see if Justin is going to be better with the diapers with his son. And if he's going to be okay with Hailey bringing home the bacon, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my goodness, loves it.
See?
Okay, well, speaking of success, 2 Brazilian nuns have gone viral after dropping an impromptu beatbox and dance session on a Catholic TV show. Take a look.
Rapaz, que é isso?
Gente, é um show.
I'm living for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
What's our reaction to this?
Well, I don't know. It's joyful. It's fun. I can understand why it went viral, but as somebody who works in TV, I just can't get past the set.
Oh my God.
sad. Yes.
Really? Lighting
Like
in the
a fake
set.
cable TV.
It's a Catholic TV
1984.
station.
You know, what's the excuse?
You were looking
Okay.
at that. I was like, Father, forgive me, but that's a good-looking priest. Did you see the muscles underneath that? Father, forgive me and my unpure thoughts. But I was like, Brazil, even the priests are hot there.
But okay, thank you that you brought it up that it's Brazilian. I feel like this is so in line with Brazilians. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Yeah.
of course they're nuns beatbox in Brazil.
Yeah.
You know what else goes down in Brazil? This is like, even though this caught me because we don't see nuns like this. We don't see priests doing this. And I like that it humanizes them, to be honest. I like that we realize, oh, they're not just sitting and praying all day. They love music.
They need a rebrand anyway,
They need
right?
a rebrand
do.
in many ways. But there's a famous DJ. He is Portuguese. I don't know if it's a Portuguese thing. His name is Padre Guilherme. And if any of you know him, he is the famous DJ who takes holy music and mixes it with techno. He did a huge set in Rio at Christ the Redeemer statue.
on.
There's Padre. Look at him. Work it. And you know what he says about this?
Yeah.
He's been DJing for decades, and he even got those headphones blessed by Pope Francis when he was alive.
Aww.
Because he said music is what unites people, and
Yeah.
this is how he brings especially young people into the church.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I just want to go to one
And you
of
know
his
what?
events.
He's so right, because growing up, I went to 2 different churches. The first one was an Anglican church, and it was very traditional, the organ, the choir, everything, you know. Afterwards, we had raisin bread and butter, and it was very nice. And then the other church we went to was a Catholic Caribbean church where there was steel pan, drums, a guitar, and it was a full band, and they had baked and saltfish after church. And it was like, guess what church I went to more? Like, there is something to it. These nuns said they wanted to reach people's hearts, and I think they went beyond that, because I think they are going to get a lot of young people saying, oh, we thought you guys were just sitting there and praying all the time. It is fun. You can listen to music, and it is cool to go to church. So I think they did do exactly what they meant to do. And Father, forgive me for the whole priest thing.
Are you into it? Well, you guys have convinced me. I'll tell you, my
Coming to church with me on
reaction-
Sunday?
I'll come to church with you. I'll come to church if it's the steel drums and fun time.
Yeah.
But like at first I was like, couldn't get over the set, and then I was like, is this a little bit desperate? Like, you know, sometimes when you take like a very old, established institution and you try to meet in the middle with pop culture, sometimes it can land really well, and sometimes it can fail. I'm not the target audience, and it sounds like you guys are saying it landed really well, so I agree.
I was like, where is she gonna stop this train?
I think she's being. I think the word is very diplomatic.
Yeah.
She's very diplomatic.
Until now, climbing Mount Everest was a feat few of us could imagine, but now there's hope for us commoners. The New York Times is reporting that a group of British tourists scampered up the summit after inhaling xenon gas, which can help people acclimatize to high altitudes in a faster way. So does this defeat the purpose of mountaineering?
Yes! Yes, it does. And must we optimize everything?
Yes.
Like, this is like, everybody's trying to get better, faster. This seems a lot like bro science. What about, like, the experience of just taking it easy? Going it up, putting in the hard work, exactly. I think that this is like, we should all be bothered by this.
But would you say the same thing? Like, clearly there wasn't Gore-Tex jackets the first time someone reached the summit of
And
Mount
hiking
Everest,
boots.
or oxygen. People, every single climber uses oxygen.
Okay, so the off-label use of this without a scientific basis and with unknown health risks, I mean, I think we can agree that this is risky behavior. And all it's gonna take is for one guy...
It's risky to climb a damn mountain.
Yeah, that's
The
fair.
whole thing is a risk.
But
There's
you
no
add
purpose to doing
you're
that.
right, but you add to it, you're snorting some kind of a gas. I don't think we want to start this trend.
I'm doing it.
What?
I'm doing it. First of all, it takes 3 weeks without the gas and 1 week with the gas. I'm doing it with the gas, baby. Shorter, get up there. I still have to use my legs, right, to climb up there. I still have to do the work. It's just making it a little bit easier for my breathing. It's not like I'm getting an Uber ride up there and passing everybody or being dropped off by a helicopter. I still have to do the work. So
You know,
I don't think you're cheating yourself.
I don't think you're cheating either, even though I get the reticence, right? Because you're just like, oh, you're inhaling some kind of gas. We don't really know what it's used for. But guess what? The same language was used when oxygen was introduced to mountaineering.
Yeah.
It was the early 1920s, and there were some early climbers who said, hey, what if we supercharge ourselves? Because as soon as you get above 8,000 feet, people were dying.
Yep.
They were dying all over the place to try to climb the mountain. So there was that combination of like that human spirit and wanting to like conquer something like this. And then there was human ingenuity, which has got us things like the car and you watching us on television. And technology is an amazing thing if it helps us achieve something great. So the exact same language was used by purists. If you want to be a true alpinist, then you will do it without oxygen. And then the first time, it took 30 years from the introduction of oxygen to actually somebody summiting with oxygen, and then they go, okay, fine, I guess we'll allow oxygen now. However, if you are a hardcore mountaineer today and you still summit without oxygen or xenon, you are considered the GOAT. You get a badge of honor. It still does mean
Okay,
something.
but does it matter that the Nepal tourism director in this article was saying that the gas is against climbing ethics, and that also, you know, you have to go up, I mean, with Sherpa,
Yeah.
and they're employed. And so if you tighten that, it can impact their income as well. So I don't know.
Or
I
does
just
it mean
feel
more people can climb?
I don't
think there'll be
know.
more people because people like me will actually go.
You go.
Doesn't that sound like a bad thing? Personally, I'm never going to climb Everest, and I think there'll be, I know, shock. There are going to be people who want to climb Everest and they want to do it the fastest. There are going to be people who climb Everest because they want to do it in a traditional way. I'm not worried about this, but what I am worried is making it easier for more people to do. Don't you remember all the headlines maybe a couple of years ago? Just Everest is just like, it looked like a garbage lane of all of these climbers. This is going to bring more people in and make it easier for out-of-shape idiots like us to be able to.
But also,
do
then you
it.
get the
Not you guys,
possibility
like
of
me.
over-tourism. Like, you've got this whole trend of people who really want to, like, I don't know, it's like bro science. Like, it's like getting up there and, like, you know, maximizing. They'll put a cold plunge at the bottom of the mountain. I don't know. And, like,
I don't see the problem with that.
You know?
I'm waiting for the problem. Maybe the Sherpas, okay, first of all, I think they're gonna have more work, not less work. And also maybe the people who are going there, it's like part of it will be taking your garbage with you or taking garbage down. You can fix the problem and be like, you guys are coming, but you can't just come and dump. You also have to help us because the next group behind you also wants a clean mountain to climb. I think you can fix the issue.
We'll have more time to do it.
Go.
I didn't know that time, the several weeks to climb Everest, the majority of that time is just sitting at the base because you have to acclimatize to that thin air. And so that's why this xenon gas makes it so much more efficient and so much faster. Again, they don't know what the side effects
How many people are going to die from this?
Or you can
overdose
push the
on it.
research forward. It could push the research forward, and maybe one day they're going to figure out, okay, xenon actually is safe, and then regulate it, and then we'll kind of cross it at that point. But I never want to poo-poo technology, but you're right. There has to be a balance between how we do this.
Not touching it.
We'll tell you about it.
All right.
I'll tell you about it. Like, here we are, Mount Everest! All right, in other news, it turns out that the planet Jupiter smells like rotten eggs. I know, crazy. The BBC reports that scientists have been analyzing the not-so-sweet smells of outer space to better understand the makeup of the universe. Fascinating. So what do you guys make of this?
I think it's extremely exciting, Andrea. Don't you think it kind of demystifies that all chemicals are inherently bad? I think chemicals have gotten a bad rap lately, and I think it's partly because of the wellness industry.
Okay.
But if you think about it, anything that's made up of molecules is a chemical.
We are actually chemicals.
We're chemicals. Water is a chemical. And so, like, take the Milky Way. They're saying that the Milky Way, if we could breathe that air, would smell like raspberries.
Oh, I love
Isn't that cool? And they've found that the chemical, which is called ethyl formate, is the exact same chemical compound found here on Earth in an actual raspberry.
Cool.
So we're not saying space is made up of raspberries, but we're saying that the chemicals are the exact same, that they're this universal thing. And I find it, Andrea, very poetic, because even across like these unfathomable distances, we are still connected to the cosmos.
I like that.
You know
Okay,
what?
wait, can I
Just
bring
for
that?
that speech.
I love that. And I love that
Yeah,
you're
a little-
discovering magic in the cosmos. I love that. And I think there is a lot of magic to be found. Overall, what I took from this article is that space is very stinky. If we could smell it, our heads would pop off, obviously, but there's a lot of bad smells. Like they described Jupiter as poisonous marzipan clouds, the smell of it, and Saturn's largest moon, Titan, smells of sweet almonds, gas, and rotting fish. So these are not the most pleasant. You mentioned the raspberries, that's one good one.
Yeah, let's go to the Milky Way.
What was also interesting to me is that it seems suspiciously connected to the perfume industry, because the person who's running this they're doing it for a museum in London, but she is somebody who is both a scientist and also somebody who studies olfactory scents. She's a scent person. And I'm just waiting for the time when Gwyneth Paltrow comes out with her candle, right? Alongside her smells like vaginas, smells like Jupiter's farts. Those will be on a shelf coming to you soon.
Yeah.
That's an amazing idea.
And guess what?
That's another
And guess
billion-dollar
what?
idea.
We know what we're getting her for Christmas.
There you go, Jupiter candle.
Heart candles and a little raspberry.
Oh
There
my
you go.
gosh, things we learned today. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So the Wall Street Journal is reporting that cheating with ChatGPT at American colleges is so out of control that some schools are actually deciding to bring back old school blue exam booklets and just pens, and that's it. No phones anywhere. Will this combat AI cheating?
What do you guys think? Right? You all are on board. Well, my first thought when I heard this story was, I think the teachers are actually trying to help the students.
Yeah.
I know AI, we talk about it all the time on the show. The horse has left the barn, the train has left the station, it's already happening. But I think there are a lot of students, and I would be guilty of it too if I was a young person in school, are leaning too heavily on this technology because they know they have it. And I think by bringing back the pen and paper, the teachers are trying to remind these kids, you're smart enough. You have the answer. You don't need this. You don't need ChatGPT. I know if you study and you put your mind to it, you can do it. And I'm going to give you an hour in this class and you're going to surprise yourself. I'm going to give you a mark back that you're going to feel like you truly own that mark because you did not use technology. You used your brain and you took your time and you studied. Old-fashioned way to do it. And I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating to me. As a former educator, I always ask myself, what would I do if I was in the classroom right now?
Yeah.
Because this is, you know, we talk about this all the time with our kids. We have no idea what the future of education means now with the dawn of ChatGPT. It's almost like you are outsourcing learning and knowledge all by itself. So I definitely thought to myself, the onus is going to be on teachers and it's going to be on schools and educators to shift. Because the bigger question is, what is the point of the education system? Is it not to train our kids for the future? The future workforce
But it's also to
is
teach
that.
them how to learn.
No, it's true.
You know what I mean? Like how
you're absolutely right. But I think for me, the challenge for the teacher is how can I use and harness the power of ChatGPT and AI and still teach critical thinking? So here's an example. So if you're studying a historical figure, I said, okay, how would I ask the kids to answer this question? And they may or may not use ChatGPT. So here's an example. Choose a key concept, character, or historical figure that we've studied this term. Now imagine, they came to your school for a day. Write a reflective journal entry from your perspective describing what happened, what you talked about, and how the experience changed your understanding of that person or idea. ChatGPT can't give you an answer to that. Do you see how you have
Yes,
to
it
use?
could. How could it? Of
No,
course
not
it
at
could.
all. No, because you have to personalize it, right? So if everybody is putting in that same
But
prompt,
you're the one who's also said the ChatGPT gets to know you. So
Yeah.
if it's known you for a little while,
yes,
it
but
could
this
actually.
requires the student to actually get out of what ChatGPT could tell you about the history of Napoleon. It can't tell you what Napoleon's going to do in your school.
But you could say to ChatGPT, put it in the voice of a student, and here's a little bit about me, and make it sound like me. And ChatGPT will do a very good job. And I think students need to be smarter. Did you read about the one student who did this to write an essay, and then he just copy and pasted the whole thing and left out the prompts? So he actually handed an essay that said, "Now make it seem dumber, because I'm not that smart." So
That's what I'm saying. They're getting lazy.
I think, well, what about a two-tiered solution? Because I love what you just said about the critical thinking. And what if AI is thought of as like a learning companion, the way that calculators in a dictionary were when I was young, and they use it throughout the school year, but when it comes to the exams, it's like, that's when we want to know what you've
Retained.
absorbed. And we do bring back those blue books and pens.
Yeah.
But what about,
Helping
or
them.
instead of just the blue, like that, what if it is some kind of oral dissertation? If you actually have to sit down, like Jess,
that's
your
a great
speech
idea.
about the smells in the cosmos.
Oh, my God.
That was very compelling
Yeah.
stuff. That means I know that you've retained and learned about the cosmos.
That's
and
a lot of
sticky
time
stuff,
for
right?
the teachers. That's a lot of time. I had an exam like that. It was an oral exam. We were going in one at a
those
time.
horrible?
It's hours.
Do you know how long it takes to mark one exam? It used
I know,
to
but at
take
least you
me
can take that
days.
home and do that in your own time. I think like having one student after, I don't know. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, listen, teacher, this is going to be the thing of
For
education.
our generation, yeah.
It
I
really,
just want to
really
make
is.
sure that my kid, and I think your kid too, understands how to learn.
Yeah.
And I think and retain information and not just be like fed stuff, because we know that like all the research shows that actually that activity of holding a pen, doing it, it actually helps to retain
without a
information.
doubt.
It helps to knowledge. So if you lose that entirely,
we're
I don't know,
doomed.
we're doomed. Kids are going to be like, I don't
Also,
know.
I think it also builds your confidence when you know it's like,
Absolutely.
I wrote this. This came
Yes.
from me and I wrote this and
That's
I worked
right.
on it, and I think that's going to be
Yeah.
Hey, singing future.
Subscribe to the Social Podcast so you don't miss a fiery debate. Until next time, socialites.